Urban legends. These stories have been passed on from generation to generation, from person to person, told around campfires, slumber parties, or even as a little bedtime story. No one knows where they all originated, as they have been told one way, and then the next it's told with an alternate plot or ending. Urban legends are often about ghosts, crazy people, disappearances, or other phenomena. I came across urban legends many years ago, and as I have a soft spot for the horror genre, these are one of my favorites and often leave a chill running down my spine and leave an eerie impression. So now, without further ado, get comfy, turn off the light, and enjoy. The body in the bed. After a long trip, a couple check into a hotel to start their holiday. Checked in, got their key, and they were ready to settle into their room and relax and unwind. The room was welcoming and comfortable. However, just as they were about to settle down, there was an unpleasant stench. The man goes back down to the front desk to complain about the smell. The manager apologizes and offers them another room until they could clear out the smell. So the couple agree to spend their first night in a new room so they can rest. The original room was inspected by the cleaners and hotel staff. They cleaned the room, changed the sheets for good measure, and the room was ready again. So, the couple drops their bags off in the original room they have booked. Everything seemed fine. But soon, enough that stench caught their nostrils. The man once again went to the reception to complain to the manager that the smell was still there. Apologizing, the manager says that he would inspect the room himself while the man and his wife go out for the day. The man, though annoyed, agreed and entrusted the manager. So while the man and wife go out for the day, the manager and his assistants checked up and down the room and were unable to find the source of the smell. Finishing their inspection, they aired the room out and sprayed the room to smell fresher and cleaner. The room was once again ready, and the couple returned to their room. The smell had not gone away. The man had reached the end of his tether, and he was going to find the source of the smell himself. He checked the bathroom, moved the furniture about, and couldn't find the source still. After a minute, he followed the scent to their bed. He leaned into the bed. The scent was stronger. The man moved the mattress off of the bed and saw that the canvas of the base of the bed was torn at the edges. As the man moved the top of the canvas, beneath it was a dead body. In real life, there have been reports of dead bodies hidden in hotel beds. So, check your bed after you check into your room. Kidney heist. This urban legend started off as an email that was spread around during the 1990s, where people would steal and sell their victims' kidneys on the black market. The story often involves a businessman on one of his business trips. He checks into his hotel in a big city like Las Vegas and has a drink at the bar. While having a drink, he befriends a stranger at the bar who buys him another. What he doesn't know is that the stranger has secretly drugged his drink and as soon as the man has a sip, he slowly loses consciousness. Then he'd wake up the following morning in a bathtub full of ice in his hotel room. When he realizes where he is, he'll have trouble getting up out of the tub. Then he'll notice some stitches in his side. Scared and alarmed, he looks around, and he'll see a message in the mirror telling him that his kidney has been harvested and that he should call emergency services right away. However, this urban legend has been debunked, for surgeons say that it would be impossible to happen outside an operating room. Also, you'd be in incredible pain if someone managed to harvest your kidney. The Missing Bride. A young bride and groom are finally married and hold a banquet at a big house with all their friends and families who gathered for the big ceremony. After a big dinner and dancing, the whole party decides to play a game, hide and seek. Being in a big house, it was the perfect place to play. Everyone scatters, and the groom was the one picked to find all the party members. Everyone was found, except for the bride. Everyone checked all the rooms of the house, but no one could find her. Then a search party began combing the area. After a week, everyone gave up looking for the bride and gave her up for lost, and no one ever saw her again. The groom decided that she had left him and tried to go on with his own life. Months later, when a housekeeper was cleaning the attic of the house the wedding banquet took place in, she saw an old trunk in the corner and decided to check inside before cleaning. When she unlocked it and opened the lid, inside was the skeletal remains of the missing bride. The knife in the briefcase. When a woman drives to her daughter's school to pick her up from music practice, she makes a stop at a petrol station to fill her car up. While topping her car up, a man in a suit carrying a briefcase asks her if she could give him a lift. When he says where he's going, the woman says it's on her way to her daughter's school and would be happy to help him out. The man thanks her and puts his briefcase in the back seat, but says he needed to use the toilet first and heads into the petrol station. While the woman waits in her car, she suddenly realizes what time it was and had to hurry and pick up her daughter. Not wasting time, she drives away. Later on, she arrives at her daughter's school to pick her up, and she notices the man's briefcase still sat in the back seat. The woman suddenly remembers about the man from the petrol station and decides to check the briefcase for any ID, so she can return it to him. When she opens the briefcase, she finds nothing inside, except a knife and a roll of duct tape. The Babysitter. A classic urban legend about a teenage girl who babysits 3 children. While watching television in the living room, she receives a phone call. Hearing the phone ringing, she answers it. She expected it to be the parents calling to check on her and the children, But instead, on the other end of the line is a man's voice and asks her, "Have you checked on the children yet?" Spooked, the girl puts the phone back down and watches television again. About an hour later, she hears the phone again. She picks it up and hears the man on the other end again, asking, "Have you checked on the children yet?" Followed by a laugh. The girl now gets spooked even more and calls the police. The girl tells the police about the man scaring her over the phone. So the sergeant assures her that if the man tries to call her again, they'll trace the call. As expected, the man calls again, laughing from the other end of the line like a maniac, and says, "The children are sound asleep. Are you going to check on them?" And he hangs up the phone. Then a moment later, the phone rings again. This time, it's the police sergeant on the other end of the phone to tell her the call was coming from inside the house and had to leave right away. The babysitter rushes upstairs to get the children and vacated the premises. As they descend the stairs, they hear heavy footsteps above. When the police arrive, they arrest the man and find out he was armed with an axe. He had been hiding within the house the whole time. There's a similar legend to this one involving a clown statue. The legend plays out the same way. Babysitter babysits some children, only this time, one of the children asks the babysitter if she could take the clown statue away from their room. She looks at the statue and agreed it did look creepy, but was afraid to damage it. So she calls the father and asks if they could remove it. But the father tells her to call the police and get out of the house. They don't own a clone statue. The children had been telling their parents there was a creepy clown watching them sleep, but assumed it was just a bad dream. When the police arrived, they found the clown, who turned out to be a short man who hid in the house, dressed as a clown and scaring the children. He didn't have enough time to hide, and pretended to be a statue. Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? At a college campus were two female roommates who were best friends. One was the academic, while the other liked to party. So the story goes that while the party girl stayed out late with her fellow students partying, the other would stay in the dormitory and study for the upcoming exams. Whenever the party girl came back late, she would leave the lights off and get to her bed quietly in the dark. The exam was coming up soon. The party girl would ask her best friend if she would come with her, but naturally, the academic girl would not go and wanted to study for the upcoming exam. Unable to convince her friends, the party girl would go out to another wild party with her classmates. The party went on late into the night and got to the point where the party girl would leave and amble back to her dormitory. Not wanting to wake her friend, she quietly opened the door and made her way in the dark to find her bed. In the dark, she heard a noise, a muffled sound, like a grunt. The party girl would whisper, "Are you okay?" Then there was silence. Maybe her friend was having a dream, and this was a reaction from it. So once again, the party girl would find her bed, get in, and fall asleep. As morning came, the party girl woke up with a splitting headache, the side effect of partying hard, and was greeted by a grisly sight. Her roommate had been brutally murdered in her bed, and above her bed was a message in blood. Aren't you glad you didn't turn on the light? Teke Teke. This is an urban legend that originated from the far eastern country of Japan, about a malevolent entity that haunts the streets and train stations of Tokyo. Teke Teke was just a normal schoolgirl before tragedy befell her. While waiting on the platform at a train station, her classmates, who knew she was afraid of insects, found a cicada and placed it on her shoulder as a prank. The prank worked, but it went horribly wrong. As the girl shrieked from seeing the cicada, she lost her balance and fell off the platform and into the path of an oncoming train, which tore her in half. Only the lower half of her body was found. Ever since the tragedy of the girl, people started to hear strange scraping noises in the streets and at train stations at night. Then people soon started to see a figure crawling across the asphalt. The figure was described as a girl with long black hair, missing her lower body, and was pulling itself across the ground with sickles clutched in her hands. Teke Teke got her name from the noise she makes when dragging her body across the ground. They say she'll most likely appear at the very same train station where her life tragically ended. Wait long enough, and you eventually hear the scraping noise of Teke Teke. When you see her, you better run. Bunnyman Bridge. This is a legend that originated in Clifton, Virginia, about a homicidal maniac known as the Bunnyman. Back in the early 20th century, there was an asylum built near Clifton. Not a lot of people wanted to live near the asylum and caused some outrage. Eventually, the asylum was shut down and the patients would be moved to another one several miles away. As all the patients were loaded onto the buses bound for the new asylum, 2 of them managed to escape. The patients were named Marcus and Douglas. They managed to escape and flee into the woods. Authorities were called to help catch the escaped patients and were hot on their trail. While searching the woods, the police would find dead animal carcasses, mostly rabbits which had been half eaten. As the police were closing in, they found one of the patients. The dead body of Marcus was found hanging from a bridge. Attached to the body was a note. "You will never catch me," signed by the Bunnyman. They never found Douglas. Ever since they found Marcus hanging dead from that bridge, people would still find half-eaten rabbits in the woods near the bridge. People also say that if you go down that bridge around midnight, the bunny man would grab you and hang you up from the bridge. Some people dared to see if the bunny man was real and hang around the bridge around midnight. But not all people were brave enough to stay there late at night. Those who do, some people would say they saw shadows moving around in the woods. But like I say, no one dares to stick around the bridge late at night, especially when they see something moving about in the shadows. The Man in the Window. This is a similar urban legend to the babysitter, one I came across years ago and stayed deep within the darkness of my mind. The legend is about a teenage girl who was home alone one winter's night. Her parents had gone out for the evening with some friends, so the girl was allowed to watch television late into the night while sat in the living room. As she was watching the television, the girl turns to look out of the window where there was a set of sliding doors at the other end of the room. She looked out into the darkness where she could just see a blanket of snow, and then she saw a man standing there, staring through the glass towards her. The girl is terrified at the sight of this man staring through the glass, and she hides under the blanket she had brought down with her. She peeks from underneath and saw the man was still standing outside, smiling at her. The girl reached for the phone on the side table and called the police. The police tell her to stay hidden and wait for them to arrive. The police eventually arrived and searched the front and back gardens. They found no one. While one of the policemen talked and calmed the girl down, one of the other members looked out at the window where the man was seen and wondered. There were no footprints in the snow right outside the sliding doors where the man had been spotted. As he sat looking, he saw another member of the police force stood out there. But he wasn't outside. It was the reflection of the policeman standing in the hall behind him. This meant the man the girl saw wasn't outside at all. He had seen his reflection. He had been inside the house. Bloody Mary. This urban legend is mostly a ritual game performed at slumber parties. This is how the story goes. A friend is sent on a dare to summon the ghost of Bloody Mary. The methods vary, but traditionally the game is played in a bathroom or any room with a mirror in the dark. What you had to do was you had to light a candle, hold it in front of you, and stand in front of the mirror. Then you had to chant the name Bloody Mary. You chant the name 3 times, or 13 times, or even more until the ghost slowly appeared in the mirror. Bloody Mary would either appear behind you, or your face would slowly turn into hers. And when Bloody Mary appears, watch out. They say that when Bloody Mary appears, she would scratch your eyes out, or drag you into the mirror, or make you go insane, or kill you on the spot. Who is Bloody Mary exactly? No one knows. Some people say that she was a woman who was executed during the witch hunts. Some say it's of the ill-fated Queen, Mary Queen of Scots, or just a straight-up malevolent spirit that hides in mirrors. Who knows? I myself never tried calling Mary. I don't have the nerves to do it. Do you? There's another game similar to Bloody Mary, one that also involves standing before a mirror in the dark. Blue Baby. The rules are the same, only no candle is required to perform this ritual. To perform it, you had to stand before a mirror, and with your arms, you impersonate the action of rocking a baby in your arms and chant Blue Baby, 13 times. As you do, you will slowly feel weight in your arms, and soon you'll see a blue baby slowly appear in your arms. What happens next is that if you look down at the baby in your own arms, the baby would scratch at you. Continue to rock the baby. If you do, you will soon hear a loud shriek from a woman, shrieking, "Give me back my baby!" You must turn the lights on quickly before the baby or the woman catches you. Once you turn the lights on, the game is over. Ever tried one of these games? Oh, I haven't. Don't have the nerves to try it. If you do it at your own risk, for I will not be held responsible. But I strongly advise that you don't. Humans can lick too. If you're an animal lover, I strongly suggest you turn away now to the safety of the light. This is another legend about a girl who was home alone. This girl's parents often work late at night, but they got her a dog to keep her company. Whenever she went to bed, her dog would sleep soundly underneath her bed, and she'd leave her arm hanging over the side, and her dog would lick her hands lovingly. It was another night where her parents worked late, and the girl would be home alone with her canine companion. She goes to bed and had her arm hanging over the side, and her dog would lick her hand lovingly. Later that night, she heard a dripping noise. Getting up, the girl would go to the bathroom next to her room and turn the tap to make the dripping stop. Then, she returns to bed, climbs in, rests her arm over the side, and from under her bed, her dog would lick her hand. Soon, the girl would hear the dripping noise again. Groaning, she gets up again to turn the tap in the bathroom to stop the dripping once again. Then she returned back to bed, leave her arm over the side, and once again the dog would lick her hand from under the bed. Just as the girl was about to fall asleep, she hears the dripping noise again. Annoyed, she sits up and strains her ears to find the source of the dripping. Getting out of bed, she was about to leave her room when she could hear where the dripping was coming from. She turns around to hear the dripping was coming from her cupboard. Slowly, she walks towards the cupboard, reaches for the handle, and opens it. Inside was a grisly sight. Hanging in the cupboard was her dog, its body cut open down the middle. The noise was the blood dripping out of the mutilated body and landing in the pool of blood at the bottom. And on the cupboard door, she saw a message written in blood. Humans can lick too.